This has been a real joy so far, hearing these diverse stories of studies, Swarthmore, post-Swarthmore, social impact reflections on the liberal arts, and really, in some cases, the meaning of life. Our next speaker is yet another Matchbox couple in a big way. Tsuyoshi Mitarai, class of '98, and his wife, Mi Fong, met during freshman orientation and started dating shortly thereafter. So that is about as early a Matchbox couple as you can get. Tsuyoshi was an economics major here, a lot of economics folks in the room, but doing a variety of things. And Mark Kuperberg was his favorite professor. He set up an import-export business venture while he was a student during the summer of his sophomore year. But around that time, he also started taking other courses, philosophy, a number of other courses, but especially in the sciences, and he discovered his love of the sciences. He thought he was going to do economics when he came here. He started up and did major in that, but really discovered love of science, and that led him ultimately to where he is now as an associate professor of emergency medicine at Stanford University. And he and Mi Fong are both emergency medicine doctors and professors. For a lot of people here, a lot of people at Swarthmore itself is a family affair in a certain way. I don't just mean that we are a kind of family, although that's true in a certain kind of way, but I mean that a lot of people here have been preceded by family members who also went to Swarthmore. And that's true of Tsuyoshi also, but in an unusual way. So his mother, Michiko, came to the States for high school, for an exchange program from Japan, and at a Quaker high school. And during that period, wound up being matched with Jean and Teresa Lang as kind of a sponsor or a foster family, and really became fast friends or family with the family. In fact, she called Teresa her American mother, and Jean her American father, and Jane her American sister. That was true of her and the whole Lang family. And she wound up coming back to the States for college. She went to Goucher and developed a love of the liberal arts. And it was that love of the liberal arts combined really with, I think, their being impressed with all Jean had done by going to Swarthmore that led them to become interested in Swarthmore for Tsuyoshi, who also visited here and said that he fell in love with the place. So the whole family has got a commitment to the liberal arts that runs through their family, but an extended family, the American family of the Langs as well. Tsuyoshi explained his career here to me, and he's going to say some fascinating things about the connections between the liberal arts and medicine, and really flesh out, I think, and broaden what others have said here already. But he explained emergency medicine to me as a generalist approach to a wide range of acute complaints. And I figured, hey, that's perfect. That sounds like what a lot of people would say about the liberal arts. All right, so a generalist approach to a wide range of acute complaints, right? So what he really means, though, is that there's breadth in his approach, what he needs to be able to do for medicine. And there was breadth in what he did here at Swarthmore and what led him to that. The liberal arts can lead to anything, like I was saying before. He took classes in philosophy and English literature and psychology, as well as in the sciences, as well as in economics. And all that made him who he is today, which includes someone who is serving the community through emergency medicine. So, Tsuyoshi, I look forward to hearing more about the relationship between science, medicine, economics, philosophy, English, and the liberal arts more broadly as part of the ongoing theme. And I appreciate as well the continuation of the legacy with the Lang family, too. Tsuyoshi.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here. And coming to the campus after 20 years brings back all these sweet memories, because as he said, my wife and I have been dating, so it's really good for a marriage to be back together, to enjoy this campus together. But I have to be honest with you, preparing for this talk also gave me all this flashback and cold sweats for having to prepare for the assignment as students back in those Swarthmore days as well. So, as he said, I came to this country when I was 17-year-old from Japan. At that time, I could barely speak any English. And in fact, my SAT score for English section was only slightly better than what you get by writing your own name. But somehow I became a physician in this country, so you can see the power of Swarthmore education through me. So even though I went into medical field, my major was economics, and people ask me, do I use economics afterwards? Yeah, all the time. Having the economics background allows me to have a good understanding of healthcare as an industry, help me deal with the tax, investment, mortgage, you name it. There's actually one more benefit too. Whenever my wife has difficulty falling asleep at night, I tell her economics theories. And just like this, she falls asleep. Each time, it works better than any sleeping pills out there. Interestingly, I tried the same tricks to my daughter, who was 9-year-old at the time. Oh my goodness, it had a completely opposite effect. Her eyes got shiny and asked me all sorts of questions, and I had to beg her, please let daddy go to bed. So the way she asks questions kind of makes me think that she's going to be a good fit for Swarthmore, by the way. However, this knowledge of economics or any other subject I took at Swarthmore, that itself is only part of the benefit of liberal arts education. What do I mean by that? Well, I think this orange summarizes all what the liberal arts education is about. If economists look at it, they might be thinking about what is the production cost, what is the fair price. When biologists look at it, they might be thinking about what species it belongs to, what's the optimal environment to make it grow. When artists look at it, they might be thinking about color, the contrast, the texture of it, and the beauty of it. And philosophers look at it, they might be asking the question, is this really an orange? So in other words, liberal arts education exposes us to many different subjects and provides us many different, broad perspectives and deeper understanding of the matter. No matter what it is, orange, it doesn't matter. Anything we face in the world, we use those skill set. And when you have those broad perspectives, you are more open-minded to different ideas and values. That makes us a better listener. And when we're a better listener, it actually makes us better communicator as well. And that's also a fundamental skill to become a good leader. So those are the skill sets that we truly benefit from liberal arts education. Not just knowledge, but those skill sets, that's what matters, regardless of what kind of major you had, what kind of field we go into afterwards. But for me, the most important things I took away from liberal arts education is the ability to ask the right questions. Something Mr. Lang emphasized to me when I was a student here. So I'll give you a couple of examples. When I was Swarthmore students, in the midway, initial question I had to myself is, what else can I take away from Swarthmore campus? I wanted to absorb it all. There's so much to learn here. But then I realized the right question actually is, what can I contribute? What can I leave on this campus before I leave this place? And so I looked for the problems that I can feel passionate about. And I realized that the Japanese language program was not there, but there was enough interest among the students. So I asked a series of questions. Okay, what kind of resource do we have? What is the demand situation for the students? What's going to be the right textbook? It has to be the right standard, because otherwise Swarthmore students are not going to be satisfied by this student-run course. And then I created my vision, articulated my vision to the leaders of the campus at the time so that they can approve such class. And it worked well to the extent that student instructors and also the students taking the class ended up getting the academic credit for that because we put a lot of efforts into it and lots of thought into it. And later on, after I left, the program, of course, had to end, but now I understand that Swarthmore actually has a better, long-lasting Japanese language program. So in that example, you can see that I'm utilizing these skill sets I mentioned. You're basically asking the right questions. You are using your critical thinking skills to analyze the problem. You're using the communication skills and leadership skills to get it done. Second example, you're going to see the parallel. Even now, 20 years later, I'm exercising the same exact skills. So at Stanford Hospital, I'm working as both emergency medicine doctor and a critical care doctor. So I asked myself the question, with this unique combination of skill sets, what can I contribute to my patients? So I look around and think about the problems that I can feel passionate about. Same thing. And I realized that sometimes hospitals are so crowded that there's no ICU bed available, which means that some critically ill patients in emergency department are boarding in emergency department for hours and hours. But these patients deserve the best. It shouldn't change the level of care based on how the hospital is operating at that time. So I asked a series of questions again. What resource do we have? What resource do we need? How am I going to be able to articulate these visions and plan to all the stakeholders so I can get their buy-in? And again, these skill set has nothing to do with medicine. You see, it's all about what came out of the liberal arts education for me. Now we start this program called Emergency Critical Care Program in August, where dually trained physicians like myself, who can understand the both world, emergency medicine, critical care medicine, work as a dedicated physician to provide this ongoing critical care for emergency department patients, regardless of the hospital situation. And they get the best kind of quality of care. Residents and students get the best kind of teaching. And we are fostering the research. And we're improving the throughput. We're optimizing resource allocations. So designing the win-win situation to make a program like this to be successful. So that's the second example. But I have to say that asking the right questions, the power of it is not just to start new programs. In fact, I use these questions to navigate my life. One of the examples is a career choice. When I was a senior year of Swarthmore College, I had to choose between medicine or business because I was econ major and was very excited about business just as much as medicine. So I was like, how am I going to decide between these two? It's a tough question. And I was getting all sorts of rejection letters from medical school because I didn't have a citizenship, I didn't have the green card, so they didn't want to even look at my applications. And, it hurts, actually. So you're basically feeling kind of desperate. And I start telling myself, maybe I actually want to do business because maybe I don't want to be a doctor after all. You see, the psychology is here. So basically, you have defense mechanism that when you're afraid of failing, or you're afraid of rejections, that you might convince yourself that you might not really want that so that you don't get hurt. So how do I avoid that? I try to ask the right questions. Okay, so let's eliminate this perceived difficulty in getting to where I need to be. So if I have the offer letter from this business consulting firm, which I had, and then acceptance letters from the medical school, which one do I choose? But more importantly, why? And I ask myself, what is it about who I am that I want to preserve and nurture throughout my life so that I can become the person I want to be? So instead of asking myself, what job do I want? I was asking myself, what kind of person do I want to be? And these series of right questions help me find the light. So I realized, okay, what I want is I want to be a compassionate person, and that's what I want to maintain through my life. There's nothing wrong with business, but medicine does demand compassion as the most important quality in us. And that just happens to be the quality I want to maintain throughout my life, regardless of what kind of career path I take. So once I frame it that way, it was an easy choice for me to choose medicine as a career. So at that time, I didn't have any offer letter, but I called my mother and said, look, Mom, I'm sorry, but I found the answer is still in medicine in my case. That's where my passion is. I'm going to reject this offer letter from the business company. I'm sorry about that. It's going to be another year that I have to work for it. And she said, that's okay. And then after I hung up the phone, 3 days later, I got the offer letter from the University of Rochester. And I still think it was a good thing that I actually faced myself. I faced my inner voice, deep voice. That way, I have no regret in the career path I made. So, I've been talking about myself a lot, but let's talk about the world that we live in. We have this flooding of information all over in the internet. We also have longer life expectancy, and chances are we're going to be potentially working many more years than prior generations. And yet, technology is advancing so fast that the landscape of industry is constantly changing. So how do we face the world like that? Well, the good news is that there's two things actually that doesn't change no matter how rapidly the world is changing. One is the power of liberal arts education, right? All these skill sets we talked about, your critical thinking, your communication skill, your leadership skills, all these things is going to stay valuable no matter what is going on with the world, no matter where you are in your field. That allows us to continue to adapt ourselves to the need of the society. The second thing that's not going to change is that our passion can only be found deep inside of our own heart. That's not going to change either. So let's continue to ask the right questions to discover the world and discover our own passion, discover who we are, so that each of us can contribute to the community and the world in a unique way with a passion, just like Mr. Lang did. Thank you very much.